This video was brought to you by Moxfield. They have a new advanced search engine for sorcery that you can check out by clicking the link in the description below or scanning the QR code on screen. Hey, what's going on, guys? Ryan Turkey here. Welcome back to the channel. Yesterday, we got a massive Codex update clarifying a bunch of cards, maybe changing the way that you've been playing some of them. And today, I'm going to go over the biggest changes in this changelog to help you keep up to date with all the new cards in Gothic. Starting off at the top here, some of the bigger ones are like right at the top. Key to the City has been a massive question mark with the new set. Bear ignores sight abilities. What does that mean? There's so many crazy sight abilities in the game. So the little changelog update is just that it clarifies that the ability means the sight abilities cannot target, damage, destroy, banish, modify, move, or impede the movement of the bearer. That's a lot of things, and this card now probably has like the longest single FAQ entry of any card. I don't know that for a fact. Maybe Kairos has one that's bigger, but look at this second question here, dude. Like, the how does this ability work, dude? Like, you have to scroll for this thing. Like, oh my god, this is all one answer. So we're gonna read this because that, I think, is the most important one. Sight abilities cannot target, damage, destroy, banish, modify, or move, or impede the movement of the bearer of the key. So, for example, they could enter a Gnome Hollows. They would take no damage from a desert. Fields of Camlin won't destroy them. River Rapids can't move them. These things all make sense. Many sight effects won't apply as part of can't be modified. So, like Gilman House, Babbling Brook, Bog, Silent Hills. A lot of these things like make sense. Some sight abilities will continue to work. I think this is where things get a little tricky because, like, why does some sights work and others don't? So they talk about an avatar holding the key will still heal from Holy Ground and lose life from Poisoned Well. That's a little strange to me because I feel as though with avatars, they have characteristics. Avatars have current and max life. Like, when you heal in the game, that's not you, the player, healing. That's your avatar healing. Your life total is your avatar's life. So I think it makes a lot of sense to have your avatar being the one who's doing the healing and not the player. So, and then going for, like, River of Blood still reduces healing, even if an avatar is holding the key. I think an avatar holding the key should not heal from Holy Ground, should not lose life from Poisoned Well, and should not have reduced healing with River of Blood. That's just me. Moving on. Wizard's Den still allows Keybearer to draw a spell, since players actually draw spells, not units. That's fine. That makes sense to me. Same with Garden of Eden. You'll still be hampered with the draw effect. Beacon still counts an enemy Keybearer. That's kind of like, this is like a weird like corner case because it's like, yeah, it's not really affecting the unit at all, so I guess it makes sense. But I think with a quick glance of this ability, you might think a unit is being ignored by the Beacon. Asmodeus with the key still can't destroy a Bedrock. That, I guess, Bedrock's like an ability of itself. Keybearer avatar will still have to, done by the things that are done by the player is like kind of like if your avatar is holding it, then the key doesn't really work, and that makes sense. I just do really feel like healing is something that is being done by the avatar and not by the player. But it's just you should know that the player is healing and not the avatar for purposes of Key to the City. And then the Void will still banish a non-Void Walk minion because that's like a game rule and not just the site doing it. So this is a massive entry. It does clarify a lot of things for the key. I have that one complaint here, but aside from that, I think it's a pretty good FAQ, and I think we have a good understanding of what the key does now. So that is huge because I know a lot of people weren't playing it just because it was a headache to rules lawyer and stuff like that. So there we go. We got Realm Eater. I don't think this is a very big... actually, no, this is a pretty big change because a lot of people were playing Realm Eater. And what you do with Realm Eater, right, is you play forced movement effects so that even though you're immobile, you're still going around and destroying these sites. And now the big clarification, I guess, but I don't think many people were playing it this way, so it really feels like a change, is that you can only digest one site at a time. So if you've eaten 2 sites and you tap to digest, you only digest one. And so you're still immobile until you digest the second one. And that's a pretty big deal. And Realm Eater was already kind of you know, he had these like really high like pop-off turns, but aside for that, like kind of a mediocre avatar, and I think this is going to hurt him even more. So a little sad there, but a good change because I think it could get pretty degenerate with Realm Eater. Imposter is, oh, he has a couple FAQs already, but the change here, the clarification, is that if you put on the Mask of Realm Eater and you destroy a site and you get that immobile ability, you would, and then if you lose Realm Eater, you will no longer be able to digest, and so you're going to be stuck as immobile forever. So that's a big risk, and you're probably not going to be putting Realm Eater in your Imposter collections. Ironclad, you know, clarified life loss is not affected by. I think that's pretty. I mean, if you have a good understanding of the game's rules, that should, you know, just be natural for you to like see Ironclad and understand that. But I guess if you are a new player, and there's a ton of new players, that might not be so immediately obvious, especially because now you do damage sites. So I can see that needing a clarification, but nothing's really changed there with Ironclad. Gargantula clarified that tapping to release a tapped minion is interacting with the realm, so it breaks stealth, and clarified that if the minion is not dragged successfully, it will not be disabled. So that's good, because I think I was seeing some games where people would like just hit the Genesis, disable something even if it didn't get dragged. So good to see that. Mega Lurker, I don't think I need to go over Mega Lurker. Like, nobody's playing this guy, right? Nobody's playing this guy. Saint of Redemption is very interesting, because he clarified that minions do not that part. It affects minions everywhere, even in other zones. So minions in decks. So, if you had like a Black Mass, if there's a Saint of Redemption on the board and you play Black Mass, there are no evil minions in your deck that you could find with Black Mass. And like, so that, I think that's the only implication here. I don't know if there's I guess Archangel Samael, he cares about evil in the cemetery. And so if there's a Saint of Redemption on the board, there will be Samael's not finding any evil in the cemeteries. So that's interesting. But they don't lose their subtypes. So it's like if you're trying to carry in at something because it cares about undead, or like if you're demonic contract, like that stuff's fine. So I don't think this is a very strong change in like clarification, but I don't think it's gonna affect too much really. Searing Truth clarified that the caster of the spell must be able to target a player's avatar, and that damage prevention effects apply to I was pretty self-explanatory to me, but saying that you need to be able to target the avatar is important, because now that means that this, you know, target player is essentially target avatar. Does this actually target the avatar, right? Yes. If your opponent targets your warded avatar, you will, right? The big thing here is that, for me at least, is that you can now put Searing Truth in your collection with Malleus Maleficarum, because now you're targeting an enemy spellcaster, and that's pretty cool. So big ups on Searing Truth there. Shackled Demon clarified that only units can tap to release a demon, because well, yeah, nothing else can tap, right? So your Omphiloses are spellcasters, but artifacts can't tap, and like River of Flame could tap. Like sites can't tap, so River of Flame wouldn't be able to do it. So just a good clarification there. Sentinel Trap got a huge change. This card is probably the biggest winner of all of these changes, I think. Sentinel Trap, and let's read it. At the end of each turn, Sentinel Trap deals 4 damage to each unit at the adjacent location it's facing, then rotates 90 degrees clockwise. So a lot of people would imagine that it starts facing forward, like how most cards, you know, face, right? Clarified that you choose which direction the trap is facing when you conjure it. And that you can change its facing when teleporting it, and that its facing is not affected by being animated and operates. Okay, that part's not as important. But the thing with this is, if you had a minion that you wanted to kill, playing it before, where you kind of just assumed that it had to face forward, meant that you were going to be playing it in weird positions because you wanted to kill something like that turn. Now that you can choose its direction on conjure, you don't have to pick a weird location. You can kind of pick a more premium spot for it and still hit the thing that you want to hit that turn. And now if you teleport it, so displace and swap, I think are the only 2 cards that can teleport artifacts right now, you can change that direction. And that's really important because now you can displace it, move it, and then change its direction so that it's going to kill something else. And 4 damage is a lot. 4 damage kills a lot of things right now. Like 4 is kind of like the premium removal number. I think Sentinel Trap will be very good in certain decks that can abuse teleporting it. I mean, I know Air Water is like already like super bonkers, but like now with Swap and Displace being in those elements, Sentinel Trap is just another tool that they can use. Very good stuff, I think, for Sentinel Trap. We got Dream Quest. Dream Quest clarified that Amphalos, River of Flame, or other restricted spellcaster can be put to sleep by this effect. This is really good because people are already playing Amphaloses like whenever they can, and Amphaloses, they can't be woken up. Or like in sites, well, sites can be damaged, I guess. I think, yeah, but Amphaloses cannot be woken up. You have to destroy them. So it'd be very easy to cast this on an Amphalos and then just get your tutor. You won't draw the turn that it like, because it's like it would be disabled on its end of turn, and River of Flame like wouldn't provide threshold and mana for that turn. But like yeah, I think this is very good for Dream Quest because again everybody's playing the Amphaloses anyways. So now if you're in air and maybe you're doing something very specific with air, you can put your Amphalos to sleep. Pretty cool. We got Balor of the Evil Eye. Clarified that this effect can cross region boundaries. So Balor was already pretty good. I mean, people were already catching on that this guy's like slightly better than Infernal Legion, but not by a ton. But now he can hit things underground, underwater, in the void. And that's huge for like killing root spiders or what is the Koi Nixies, right? These guys are 2 power, underground, underwater, and he kills them. And that's just like really good. So Balor, moving on up. Very good stuff there. Now we're going to get into the stuff that's like less. Some cards I'm not going to really cover here. Like City of Glass, I feel like the clarification here is pretty normal. Kind of corner case and also kind of what I would have assumed to be correct. So I'm not going to go into it. Same with like Dole Chance. Flanking Mover I do want to talk about because this was always like the cool thing with Flanking Maneuver was that things could change regions. And the clarification here is that basically teleporting does not allow you to change regions anymore. So Flanking Maneuver you can no longer Flanking Maneuver from the void onto a site, and that's really sad. That was always like the special thing that Flanking Maneuver had going for it, and that's gone now. We got Frozen Horror. Clarified that only minions near the horror when the ability is activated are affected. That's kind of important because this card feels very similar to like Babbling Brook. And Babbling Brook, because it's a Genesis, is this like ongoing effect after the Genesis. And so if you move the brook, things will get disabled that are now near the brook while that Genesis is like still being applied. But that's not the way it works with Frozen Horror. So now it's only the things that were near it when the ability went off are things that are disabled. Garden of Eden, clarified that it does not let Morgana or Amphaloi draw spells. Most people knew this already, but I'm sure there were a lot of people who didn't. You wouldn't think so right away because you might not think of Morgana being a player, but it is you kind of drawing it as Morgana or however you look at it. So Garden of Eden, still very powerful. Harpy and Urge, I don't like this. Clarified that this is not forced movement. Yeah, big hate here. Because flying in all other instances until this set has been forced movement. Whether it's Avatar of Air, flying, Siege Giant, throwing, which in the Codex says it's synonymous with fly. I think there might have been like one other card. It was always like forced movement. And I like it if a verb stays with the same meaning. A push... like if a card says it's pushing a unit, that is always forced movement. Pushing is never like a unit taking steps. But now we have flying being both. And so this is now not forced movement. It is the unit taking its own steps. And I just don't like that from a syntactual. Ooh, what did I do? From this, I don't know. Yeah, the syntactual, the diction of the game. I would prefer if verbs were consistent with their meaning, but that's just me. Jack the Ripper. He got a clarification about how his ability works. Like if he's silenced, he's still able to kill the mortal because the ability goes on the storyline. And he can be cast to other regions, but he would like die immediately. I asked a question about whether or not he would still kill the unit via silencing them. He would not be able to kill them because he would die before killing them. But like if he sort of would act as a Sisters of Silence type of thing, where it's like if I'm summoned to an underground mortal, does that mortal get silenced before Jack dies and then is dead because they're silenced underground? That's kind of my big question right now with Jack, but I'm sure that will get answered pretty shortly. But Jack's pretty good. I like him. You'll probably see more of him as the game goes on. And also, I feel like this does, because it's the ability's put on the storyline to resolve. I feel like that's confirmation that Death Speaker can cast Jack and get this ability. We got Morgana. Clarified that if another player takes control of Morgana, they can have her cast spells from her hand. Additionally, clarified that Morgana's hands remained if she's silenced, disabled, or transformed, that she can still cast spells from it as long as she has the spellcaster ability. So that's pretty big because, again, you're going to see a lot of Morgana in constructed games. So knowing everything you can about her is good. You can take control of her and cast her spells. And even if she's silenced, disabled, or transformed, she keeps her hand. All right, we got the panpipes. This was a big one because a lot of people were arguing about this one. Does panpipes increase 0 damage to 2? The answer now is definitively yes. So your frogs will deal 2 damage with panpipes of Nam. And this is a pretty relevant buff, I think. This matters for the pipes. They might actually see play in some decks. We're going to start getting into some more like either just small clarifications like Bane of Aventus saying that the control change is permanent. I think most people know that. You know, Black Mask clarified that up to 3 minions. This is kind of nice because honestly it doesn't specify that. It says draw 3. So it is nice that they do clarify. I mean, I've been playing. I think most people have played it as up to 3. But like, yeah, a lot of these are now going to start getting into like very small clarifications that what is it? Small clarifications that I think most people already understood, but it's just good to have it like for the record. But some of these I do think are like noteworthy. So one of them here is Gift of the Raven. Clarified that, where is it? Clarified that multiple instances of this effect stack. So if you have 2 Gifts of the Raven on a unit, you will heal for twice the damage they heal. Because, you know, each one is healing for the damage. And I would imagine that this would also not necessarily stack, but if you had a Dapperel Vampire with a Gift of the Raven, with 1 Gift of the Raven, you would heal twice, right? That's pretty cool. That is, because I think I've had some air decks where I wanted to play like maybe 1 copy of Gift of the Raven, or like sometimes it's in your collection. A lot of air decks will put this in the collection. And you might think like, well, it's kind of a waste if I cast this on my vampire because she's already healing me. But now, like, it's good to know this is not a waste to put it on a vampire. You will heal twice the amount. So very good to know. Very strong change there. I don't think many people, like, this isn't a clarification that really feels like a change because, you know, I don't think anyone was really playing it that way. Next up is River Rapids. Where is that? River Rapids, I think most people now understand how this works, but at the beginning, there was a lot of confusion. And also, this is just a very popular site. You're going to see this in a lot of games in Constructed. So it's good to know now for certainty what a connected river is. And the big question really is, does this work on itself? If this is my only river, does it work? And the answer is yes, because you know, what is a connected river? You know, it's rivers regardless of who controls them and which contains river rapids. So literally just having river rapids lets you push things, and that's very strong. Lastly, we're gonna go to, where is he? Sturmgeist. Sturmgeist, another very popular. Why can't I click? Very popular spirit right now. 3 mana 3. You know, the FAQ here is clarified that his ability triggers before the magic resolves, and that only magic cast by units will trigger this ability. That's actually pretty big because I know that there are some games where people are using their Amphiloy to cast their spells and move the Sturmgeist away from their avatar. So that's pretty relevant. Your Amphiloy, you can still cast spells with your Amphiloy and like get a, like, you know, you won't take damage from the Sturmgeist, right? But you won't be able to move the Sturmgeist with the Amphiloy. Also clarified that it must move as close as possible and how to determine that. That's important because this guy was super tricky. Because the Sturmgeist has the airborne ability, it's able to get, you know, they give you this grid here. Sturmgeist is on S, Caster is on C, and so basically on this board, he has to move to C because that would leave him 0 steps away. I wish they gave another example here where if he was 2 steps away, but like not diagonal, because I know some people will like, and I guess because he's airborne, like you kind of, if you have 3 different options that leave you 1 step away, you get to just choose. And that makes it very tricky because you can like dodge removal that way. If someone's like trying to like cave in or like lightning bolt to kill the Sturmgeist, you just like pick the site that they're not targeting. But I would like to just have that for clarity, like a different, this diagonal one is good because I think a lot of people miss that he has airborne and can take that step, but having the one where it'd be like Caster, and then you have ABC, and then you have like Sturmgeist on B, and then the fact that he could move to either ABC would just be helpful for a lot of people. And then if it's cast by something other than a unit, he only hears spells cast by enemies, and an enemy in the Codex is a unit. Artifacts are not enemies, sites are not enemies, so that does not trigger the ability. And there was some confusion about that too, especially with the sites, because units can strike sites. So some people thought that like if you cast with River of Flame, Sturmgeist could strike the River of Flame, but that is not the case. And then the rest of this, yeah, like either small clarifications that I think most people understood all along, or just cards that like you're not gonna see a ton of, so I don't think it matters a lot. There's a lot of changes. You can dive into it if you want for yourself, but it will take you like a long time. Like, so I made this video with the intention of giving you the big changes, giving you the TLDR, and you know, letting you take over from there if you so choose. But these are some really good changes. We really needed these clarifications for Gothic. There were a lot of cards that people didn't understand. It's right in time for Sorcery Con next week, so that's awesome. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been getting over a cold, and that's why I didn't post last week, or why I may be sniffling a bit in this video. But thanks for watching if you made it this far. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It means a lot. I'm very close to 1,000 subscribers, so maybe we can hit that before Sorcery Con, maybe? That'd be pretty cool. But regardless, I hope you enjoy. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.